Hello, it's Brad Laurie, and today I'm very honoured to speak with Multivac. With me, we have three very important executives of the Multivac team. We have Sean, the CTO. Welcome, Sean, to this exciting opportunity to speak about Multivac.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sean.
Hi, mate. And also to the CEO who's in the centre. His name is Frank. Frank, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Okay, thanks, Brad. Hello, I'm Brad.
Nice to meet you, mate. And also to Claire, whom I've spoke to at length preparing this interview. Claire, thank you as the CMO for your time this evening also.
Hi, Brad. Hi, it's an honor to be here.
Likewise. Now, it's been an interview in the making for some time. You guys have been very busy with your technology. You don't often do interviews in detail. We are going to do that tonight. We are going to explore everything that you stand for and really provide you, the listener, and the person who is a proponent of blockchain with an insight into what is sharding, what can it do for business, and what can it do for the future when it comes to really revolutionizing business. Now, let's get stuck into it. Now, Multivac, you state, is the next generation public blockchain. It's a big call. You talk about large-scale, industrial-grade blockchain with regard to distributed applications. Let's explore what that means though. Now, in terms of next generation and high performance, I want to start with the CTO for a moment. Sean, talk us through what that actually means to say high performance and in the context of industrial grade.
Actually, in the last October, we have achieved about 30,000 TPS. And we also do the state sharding and all-dimensional sharding for the blockchain system. So we know the main bottleneck of our current blockchain system is the throughput or the availability. So we are trying to make the best technology framework for all-dimensional sharding and state sharding.
Right. Now, I just want to jump in. Now, you have a very complex sharding system. I'm going to explore that with you later. You mentioned all-dimensional sharding. That's important. But let's backtrack for a moment. Sean, talk us through what sharding is for those people who really just simply don't know, so they understand the importance of it.
Sorry.
So sharding itself. Let's talk about the basics. Why is sharding? What is sharding, and why is it so important?
Okay, because we think sharding is the only practical way to achieve a high throughput blockchain system. Because, for example, we have multiple solutions for blockchain 3.0. This generation of the third generation of blockchain, we have partial centralized systems like EOS or IOST. We also have some DAG systems like IOTA or Conflux or something else. And we also have like state channel like Plasma to put the blockchain load outside the main chain. So there are a lot of ways to achieve a high throughput system. But,
right, and I think you make the good point. It's all about making sure it's a very performant system and a very performant chain. And sharding can do that. Now let's explore that just one moment. Now, sharding, for those who don't know, it's all about trying to make it split, to make sure that you can cluster and utilize the blockchain in parts, so that you're not exhausting the entire blockchain. Now, when you do that, are you doing that on-chain or off-chain, or both?
On-chain.
Okay, so why have you chosen the on-chain system?
For example, there are a lot of off-chain approaches like sidechain and state channel, but they have security issues. Like Lightning Network, it has very big security issues, and it may cause centralized result.
Right.
So we believe that it's very important to make the chain, everything be decentralized. So, for example, on-chain is a good way to improve the performance of the main chain. So, so we choose an on-chain way to improve the performance.
Right.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Sean, and we're gonna talk a lot more through this interview, and I appreciate your time tonight because you are the big brain when it comes to the tech as the CTO. Now let's go across to Frank for a moment. Now, Frank, you are leading this entire outfit called Multivac. The basic idea beyond sharding, talk us through Multivac. What does Multivac fundamentally stand for, Frank?
Yeah, Multivac, it means the name of our basic idea of the Multivac.
Sure, exactly.
Yeah. You know, I was an engineer before, and I love new technology very much, and I would love to deep in deeply.
Mm-hmm.
When I stepped into this industry, I found that the true 3-point generation blockchain hasn't been. Yeah, because the performance is not enough.
Right.
And the developers cannot build the real dApps, the real apps on the blockchain. So we decided to build a high performance blockchain system. And you know, I was an engineer, and I was in charge of data warehouse system before. I know the traditional database system very well. Yeah, so sharding is not a new thing. It's also sharding is also in some traditional database system.
Mm-hmm.
So we can also consider the blockchain system as a distributed ledger system. So sharding, I think sharding is finally a way to increase the performance. So we make the decision to build Multivac.
Right. Now, Claire, obviously you know the team very well. How long has the team been building this technology that's really sharding centric? How long has it been in the making?
We have been working on this for almost 1 year. We started April in 2018, and we published our white paper, which is our main technology scheme, in May last year. And then we start working on the details and working on the coding and programming.
If we can explore a little bit more about, again, the vision. Now, we've talked about the sharding imperative, but Frank, what do you want to do with Multivac? What is the exact plan?
The exact plan? Yeah, to be honest, I like to learn something from the history. Yeah, I found that the vision of Bitcoin is to build a virtual free and a virtual free financial system to the real world. Yeah, and it makes sense and it's success. So just such as free accounts, low fee, and so on. So Multivac's vision is to build a decentralized, virtual, free digital world, digital environment to the real world.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's explore that. Let's explore that though, Frank. You mentioned a very important term, that's decentralized. But China is famous for also recognizing the importance of money and business. So how are you going to make sure that you can utilize the blockchain and sharding technology to also keep up with the new wave of business models, utilizing DLT, utilizing blockchain?
For our vision is to bring the mainstream internet business on chip. So we consider all the CPU, memories, and disk as resources in the blockchain, and people can use Multivac token to buy, to rent, to use the resources to support their business logics. Yeah. Right. So this is the main point.
Right, and the scope of that, given that you're trying to reconceptualize the internet essentially, with having a multitude of new digital applications, decentralized applications, the scope of that globally is really quite significant because we're just starting in this whole industry. But again, let's break it down with some key points. Now, industrial scale, I want to talk to you, Sean, about that. Now, what does it exactly mean when we say industrial scale? Because that's a really big focus for Multivac.
Sean?
So Sean, when we say industrial scale, we're talking about obviously enterprise. So why is that such a big focus for Multivac?
Well, because we believe that the blockchain system, the blockchain world will grow bigger and bigger. So the most important thing is not only financial usage like Bitcoin. We also believe that there will be a lot of applications to build a bigger ecosystem. So we are trying to make a system for general applications like not only the gambling or ICOs, but also lots of real like games and trading and data storage and so on. So to provide such a general usage platform, we needed to do a lot of upgradation for the current systems.
Sure.
So yeah.
So what's interesting is you've looked at all the verticals clearly that are afforded by this technology. And obviously there's a lot of interest globally in how businesses that exist now, traditional businesses, can use this to be more efficient, more productive. Claire, I wanted to ask you, have you done a lot of research as a team member, as a CMO, into how businesses can integrate and use Multivac? Because obviously that's going to drive the value.
Oh, okay. Actually, we do not only do research. Frank and I worked in a lot of internet companies in China for many years. For example, we have worked for the biggest online to offline internet company. Its name is Meituan Dianping. In China, it's a very large company and it runs many business in many aspects like eating and delivery and also traveling and also hotels, a lot of things. So we have real experience in internet companies. That's why we know how they work. They need TPS, but also they need security, and also they need a very easy way to enter blockchain. So as we all know, in the past, the company would buy a lot of service machines to run their business, but now they are building their platform on AWS and on Aliyun, things like that. We believe one day that companies will build their business on blockchain platforms like Multivac if we could support them well.
Right, and that's a good point you make, because right now we're transitioning into the potentials of blockchain and beyond. So Sean, Frank, as the CEO, are you seeing signs clearly of interest from these enterprises as you start to be ready? Because you're not far away really this year into the mainnet phase, testnet right now or about to be. So are you seeing these indicators with all your knowledge as the CEO that these companies are taking stock? They're really listening and even calling. Is there interest there that's real?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You know, I have many friends. They have already started up their own company. Yeah, because they believe the new economy will make a great improvement and will make a great clear. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk more about this proof later because I want to find out what's really going on. Now, if we could talk a little bit more about government for a second, because in China, obviously you're based there. There's a lot of sentiment with regard to blockchain. There's a lot of buzz of blockchain. Very pro, very supportive. What's your view, or any of you, because you all would know being there, with regard to Multivac particularly in terms of support? Is it strong? And what's the real situation and scenario?
I think it's quite similar to most regions in the world. The government encourage the technology, but they are kind of afraid of the ICO, or there are a lot of scammers, as we all know. So in China, there is one thing that we need to pay attention, that local government, you mean the province government or the city government, they pay more attention to blockchain technology. Because for Chinese local government, it is very important to do something unusual to promote the local economy. That's why they pay a lot of attention on new technologies like blockchain, like AR, and so on. So that's why they offer money, they offer working space, and they offer all kinds of other policy support for blockchain enterprises. So I think it's quite good for blockchain entrepreneurs to do real things in China under the local government.
And Claire, thanks for clarifying that local government part. Now, with Multivac specifically, have you encountered that kind of support directly from local governments? Have they actually shown support to Multivac?
Yeah, we are seeking the opportunities for Beijing and also Hangzhou and also Shanghai government to get some money or space support from them.
That's great, because obviously you're going to need that support. Now, with regard to registrations, are you a registered entity in China or are you registered outside of China?
The foundation of Multivac is registered in Singapore, but we have another technology company registered in Beijing, so that we could do some maybe to B business in Beijing, which will be absolutely under the law.
Yeah, we can offer technical support to the local companies.
Sure. Now that's important because you are registered in Singapore, but you are covering the jurisdictions and the legal requisites for both those regions so that you can operate globally and within China. That's what I wanted to check. Now let's move across to some of the tough tech. So Sean, roll your sleeves up. This is going to be interesting. Now, as we talked about, trust is really important. One of the things you state in the research and in the planning is you are a pioneer for flexible blockchain platforms using trusted sharding. Now, what is trusted sharding when we already have sharding? What's the difference?
Oh, wow. This is quite different because we raised this in the white paper that, because we believe that the reliability of a small shard is highly related to how many decentralized miners are participated in this shard. So we find that the reliability is highly related to the number of miners participate. So we use like VRFs so the miners are selected into shards via VRFs to meet the certain reliability level. So the shard. The size of the shard is different.
Yes, and I'll just wanted to interrupt for a moment for the listeners. Now, when you say VRF, we're talking about verifiable random functions. So that randomization, why is that important? Let's talk about that for a moment.
Well, this is very, VRFs are usually used in distributed systems. So they are pseudo-random functions such that functions user can produce a proof allowing all parties to verify the function was calculated correctly without ever needing to disclose any private information, including the random function itself. So in our case, we built a sharding reliability model. So we can use the VRF to choose miners. For example, we can choose who will be the block proposer and who will be the block verifier. So they are totally random. So we can make sure the decentralize of the whole system.
Right. So again, it also adds a layer of distribution and even security for the reason of randomization. So it's good to know that you've built that model in. And you also talk about novel probability. It's something written in your white paper that's quite interesting as a model. Talk us through that. What do you mean by novel probability?
The probability is that
it's mathematics.
Yeah. So we have to we build a mathematical model to compute the actually all three dimensionals like security, decentralization, and the security. Yes. For instance, if you would like to play a small game, so without any cash, so it's you may require that it with high scalability to provide a lot of people to play. but the decentralization level is not high. So you may choose a small size of shard. So for example, if you would like to transfer a large amount of money to someone else, so the security level should be very high. So you can choose a very large size shard.
So So what you're saying is that it provides for a means in which you can basically customize the needs according to that trilemma so that you can solve that problem and utilize it to the best of your needs. If you are, for example, an enterprise, you can optimize it according to the best, of the three that as you talked about in the trilemma of the scalability, the solution, the security, and obviously the decentralization. Because I've read in the white paper and in your material online that you are working hard at solving that problem.
Yeah, and this is built on this mathematical model.
Right. Okay. Now, what about with regard to the consensus algorithm? You have a unique one, the POIE. Let's talk about that with regard to what it is, why you did it. So just to clarify, that's the proof of instruction execution.
This is proof of instruction execution, POIE we call it. POIE actually, POIE is used for verifying whether a program or smart contract, as we know, is correctly executed on some miner's computer. But to avoid duplicate running, so we provide a POIE to prove whether the miner is runs this program honestly. So the best way to verify whether a third part runs the program honestly is another way we call the ZK snarks. Do you know this one? Zero knowledge proof.
Yes, so everyone knows those.
Actually, this is the best way to use, but ZK snarks is very inefficient. Yes, it's complicated and very, very inefficient. So you may need 1 hour to verify the program, even it runs in 1 second. So it's inefficient. And POIE is another practical way. So POIE is based on physical computational constraints. So we can, although it's not the best theoretical way, but it's the best practical way here.
Okay. Well, practical is really important though, Sean, so that makes sense. Now, what you're saying is that you're expediting the honesty and integrity process so that it happens faster through the POIE. What about with another aspect of that? You've got Byzantine consensus built in as well as a part of it with the Byzantine consensus family. What's that about? Why have you integrated that into the overall model?
As we know, the Byzantine consensus needs about 2 or 3, actually it's about 66% of participants to agree with the result. This is a Byzantine consensus, but there are a lot of different Byzantine consensus algorithms. So some of them requires a very low level, like about 60% or 50%, and some of requires a high level like 80% and like that. So because as we mentioned before, we have different size of shards. So some shards are small and some shards are large. But we know that the traditional Byzantine BFT, Byzantine fault tolerance algorithm, it cannot. It is impractical in a large size of shard. Because it requires a very high level of communication cost. So it's not practical for a large size shard.
So essentially also you've made sure that you've altered it so that everything can become more performant as the needs of your blockchain and your consensus grow.
Different size of shard may need different types of algorithms. So it's Byzantine consensus family. So there are a lot of different Byzantine consensus algorithms for different sizes of shards.
Okay. Now, Frank, I want to talk to you for a moment because you have made, or arguably being the leader, a big claim. You claim that you are the world's first fully sharded blockchain with sharded transmission and storage. Now, whenever I see the world's first, I'm always going to ask the CTO, How can you state that? How can we really be sure that you can actually do it?
Okay. Yeah, we call it all-dimensional sharding.
Yes. Yes, you do. And two parts of that. You know, the sharded blockchain, but also the sharded transmission and the sharded storage as part of the all-dimensional approach.
Yeah, because it is a distributed system. You know, distributed system is not only about the computing side. It's also about the transmission and the storage side. So if you want to build some business on a blockchain system, on a sharding blockchain system, you must consider about the computing, the computing resources, the storage resources, and the transmission. You know, if you want to transfer some data from one computer to another, you need some bandwidth. Yeah, but if TPS can achieve such as our more than 30,000 TPS, you must have much storage, very much storage, and you must have some kind of bandwidth to support it.
Right.
Yeah, so we propose this all-dimensional sharding, including all parts sharding. Yeah.
Right. Now, it makes a lot of sense. Now, Claire, obviously that's a huge asset because we've heard the narrative of sharding, and we will talk later about competitors. But when we talk about all-dimensional, as Frank's saying, there's three major parts. How important is this, given that arguably you're the first to be all-dimensional?
Yeah, actually, I think after we released our yellow paper in September last year, more and more people are paying attention to this part because, you know, as Bitcoin and Ethereum, their main bottleneck is not the computing part, it's the ledger. They are so large that personal computers or ordinary computers cannot store the whole ledger. That's why they can't join the network as a miner. And that's why the decentralization level of this network are lower and lower. So it's very important to do that to encourage more miners in more PC computers to hold the whole network safe enough and decentralized enough. So it's very important to be the first one to propose that and to fulfill that.
Yes, and that relates to a question with regard to nodes. I noticed that you have different types of nodes. So Sean, talk us through that. You have the light nodes, minor nodes, and you also have the storage nodes. So talk us through why it's so important to have that diversity.
Yeah, this is very important because we know when the TPS reaches a very high level, for example, a lot of projects claim that they can achieve 1 million TPS. But you know how many data you will be processed in 1 million TPS? It's about it's several TBs per month, even per day. So this is a very large amount of data, and we don't think any personal ordinary PC can handle such a large amount of data.
Right. So I just want to jump in there. You make a really good point because we've had blockchains already claim huge TPS capacities. But again, you're saying that this breakdown of the tripartite node system is really the key because they're not addressing it properly. So please go on, Sean. Tell us why your solutions, you know, arguably going to solve this problem of beyond just TPS.
Yeah. So once the system goes very fast, so the ordinary PC cannot handle the large amounts of data. So we need very for example, super nodes, but it's somehow centralized. Yeah. So our solution is to define a storage node. So the storage node can handle a large number of data, but they are unable to delete or update the data. So we give the right of all the control of data to the miner node. But the miner node only needs to store very few data. So in case we have different types. The client node, they only send the transactions, and the middle level is the miner node. They only need to store a very few data, like the headers. So, but they have the all the control rights of the data.
Right.
So they decide how to update or how to process the transactions.
Right.
And the third level is the storage data. The storage node. Storage node could be considered as the like AT&T or Verizon, the network provider. So they only provide the infrastructure of the network, but they have no right to control the data.
Mm-hmm.
They are able to send the data or the transactions.
Right,
So,
and that's quite novel because you've broken down the different needs for different nodes and made them very specific. Haven't seen that actually done effectively with many
also one more thing that all the data is sharded.
Mm.
Yeah, so the storage node only several storage nodes only have several copies of different shards. So no one will hold the whole ledger, and no one need a very large hard disk to save all the data. Yeah.
That's a really good point because it wouldn't work arguably if they had to, because it would be too much data. So you've made it so that it can, the storage solution is with those storage nodes, it solves that problem so that participants in a distributed fashion can use Multivac.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I want to talk to you a little bit more about the TPS just generally because we hear it. Now you've tested this obviously in-house, testnet's coming. You've already got a significant number of TPS, but does it really matter though, Frank, in the sense that do you need that high TPS for functionality now? And do you envisage that you're going to have a lot more as you build this technology?
Yeah. That's really a good question. Yeah, we have already released our data and achieved incredible results. Yeah, the most important thing, more important than the result, than the more than 30,000 TPS, it can be linear expansion. It means it can. The system can increase the TPS by more shards. When we have more shards, because we release the data, it's about maybe 64 shards. I remember that. 64 shards, about over 30,000 TPS. So if we have more shards, the TPS can also increase. Also, yeah. So it can support the real business very well.
Sure. Now, Frank, is it easy for you to add more shards? Sorry to interrupt, but you said 64 shards for about, was it 30,000 TPS? That's quite a lot. Now, do you plan on building out more shards in the near future?
Actually, in the mainnet, when it is online, it will be automatic. So if the network needs more TPS, the shard will do the resharding and will increase more shards into the network. So that's why linear expansion is very important because the network grows, the shards grows, and the TPS grows.
Yeah.
So
that's
it's
interesting.
It's a growing.
So it's automatic growth.
Yeah. Because you can't figure out how much or how many TPS it will need in the future, right? So the system must be growing itself.
Right. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Now let's go. Obviously, for those who are not tech savvy or those not interested, I apologize, but this technology is really important. It is the bedrock of Multivac. We do need to explore it. Now, with regard to the trilemma in solving that, I wanted to move to dApps for a moment. Obviously, you're a dApp platform. You're going to support them. Let's talk about the prospects, given that you, as Claire was saying, if there's going to be that automaticity of TPS, it's clearly going to be something that a lot of people want to use because it's already functional. Is there already interest from dApps to start onboarding and using you once you become an active ecosystem?
We have talked to some companies in the industrial like e-commerce and sharing economy, and also some IP industry. And they have made a strong interest to build some part of their business on the blockchain, because I don't think it's necessary for bring all their business into the blockchain. But to be honest, because we are still in the stage of developing, and our testnet is soon, but the mainnet is going to be like half a year later. So. yeah, so it's just like we are talking about what do they need, but they haven't started, to be honest.
Right, but Claire, the exciting thing is you are talking already. That's a good indicator. Can you give us a hint with regard to the size and scope of these entities? Are they significant? Are they large corporations or large businesses?
There are some large ones, but to be frank, we will start with small or middle business, like startups after A round or B round, like this kind of skill, because our mainnet also needs some tests before it is fully, exploited.
And some department from the big companies, and they want to try some new technology and put some part of their business on blockchain system.
Right. What I like hearing from you as well is that you're clearly taking this seriously and slowly. You're not just simply rushing in because of the hype of blockchain or crypto, but rather you're looking at it as a way to credibly enter for the long term. Is that fair to say, Frank, that you're trying to build something for decades ahead? Right. Okay. Well, let's go to the virtual machine. Now you have a very important one, Sean. Talk us through how important it is to have your own VM, what the MVM offers that others don't, and obviously you're part of building that.
Yeah, the MVM virtual machine is a Blocker VM designed to support flexible computational models, so capable of providing an efficient and verifiable execution environment for smart contracts. So not only smart contracts, but also general applications. And we support high-level Turing-complete programming languages. So it's a general-purpose computational environment.
Sure, you make it sound so simple, but not many blockchains actually have their own VM. Now, what kind of languages, are you going to support with the smart contracts?
Yeah, currently we support C and C++.
Okay, will that expand into other languages later?
Yes, because we have built LLVM compilation framework, so it can support. Actually, we have a backend instruction set, so the language could be compiled into LLVM IR, and then it will be translated into our BISC language. So. Sure. Yeah, so actually, LLVM framework is very mature, so a lot of different type of high-level languages could be compiled into LLVM.
Right. Now, Frank, what about interoperability with regard to, obviously you alluded to the web with the internet, but what about cross-chain compatibility, trying to expand the ecosystem so it's beyond Multivac and work with other entities in the blockchain domain?
About cross-chain?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. We use this sharding technology, so we can build more depth on this flexible computing environment. So if we want to build, if any dev want to do such a cross-chain business, yeah, we can support it very well. Yeah, such as because we can consider shard as a small chain, and some devs can use just similar as other chains, and they can use they can build such a bridge and to do a cross-chain logic.
Right. Okay. So you cater for that. Now, with regard to moving one step beyond that, because you mentioned the dApps and cross-chain capability, what about cross-chain in the sense of blockchain? Are you looking at or considering working with any specific blockchain startups that have a specific offering, a specific part that you could actually collaborate with? Are you looking at partnerships in that respect?
Yeah, actually, we have already make many collaborations with technical companies or protocol projects. Yeah, but different products have different their own technology, and so in some way we can cooperate with each other, such as cross-chain, such as some part of
the architecture.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, talk us through some examples, because obviously you'd know about Ontology, or there's other ones in China that are well known and even outside of. Can you give us some names of some startups or blockchain entities that you are talking to?
Yeah, such as BlockCloud. Do you know BlockCloud?
I do know BlockCloud very well. They are a layer 0 solution.
Yeah, we have really good connections, and
so they're the TCP/IP solution. They're trying to build out the web and collaborate with you. That's exciting, because they have a very significant team in Tsinghua University as well. So do you also collaborate with academic spheres in China?
Yeah, John has a class in Tsinghua University. Yeah, to teach some doctors about the blockchain. Yeah, and we also cooperate with some universities to make some good influence about the blockchain technology.
Okay. Now, Sean, I want to move across to you, because this relates to more of the academic. It's interesting we're talking about that. With regard to the ecosystem itself, now you have it structured, it's tiered from the node expansion, engineering platforms, network and service. Talk us through the ecosystem itself. Obviously, you helped design it. Why is the ecosystem so important as it is?
Well, it's hard to say why it's important, because it's really important, because of the blockchain is the ecosystem, I think. So, for example, everything is like this, because if no one use blockchain, then blockchain is useless.
Right.
So, yeah, I think the most important thing that so we are a part of this blockchain world. So, and we would like to enlarge this world, and we would like to have many people to participate inside. So to provide, we would like to provide the usage of the blockchain for them, and they will have some advantage.
Right. So use case is really important. So I'm going to skip across to that topic now, since you addressed it. Now, to have a really good use case, you need to have a really strong and exemplary token model, and you need to have a voucher via the token to represent all of this ecosystem. So Frank, I'm going to go to you for a moment. Can you talk us through how your voucher system works, how your token works to represent true economic value and modeling for your whole ecosystem as it builds out? How can we trust this voucher will actually work?
Yeah, you know, that as I mentioned about our vision, yeah, we consider all the CPU, all the memory, all the disk as resources. So if you want to use some resources or run some resources or build some dApps on the blockchain, so you have to pay for that. Use MTV token. Yeah, and in the other side, if someone can support this kind of resources, so they can get reward. So all the reward is token. Yeah, so it's literally a utility token. Yeah.
Okay, now let's recap that. Now, incentivization, tick, because essentially you're going to reward for usership, and obviously all the different participants in the ecosystem are going to be able to be rewarded for their activity. That's important, because that's something quite unique via the blockchain. You're also going to make sure that fundamentally the unit of account for the internal economy is the voucher. But here's the important question I need to ask you. How can people trust that the token itself is going to grow and correlate with your economy as you grow? Because obviously you are a utility token by design and a utility startup, but in many respects, people consider it a little bit like a security. It's not a security, but the security is growing value as the business grows. Utility, good quality utility token models should also indicate growth as you build. So how can we trust your system? Have you got something built inside, or are you working on a good economic model to make sure it's strong?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that your token is really useful. It can be used for the real mechanism, such as to provide the business. So it is useful. So it can be grown at the same time as the whole network grows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this
Right.
is the yeah.
Okay, so usage is important, but
Yeah.
let's say, for example, Frank, to make it clearer, I'm a business and I like Multivac and I want to interact with you. So can I pay in fiat, and will you stake that in terms of tokens? How will it work? Talk us through the reality of doing real business.
Yeah. Absolutely. You can buy some tokens, and you must use tokens to buy the resources. Just like our nowadays, we can buy some physical. We do not buy any physical machines anymore, but we buy some cloud resources such as some virtual platform
like any tokens, like points or tokens.
You use money to buy that, but you can use MTV token to buy the resources. And for more detailed economic mechanism, we are designing it. We have to make it perfect. Yeah.
Right. That's what I wanted to know. So you're working on that. When will you release the information about the details of your economic model?
In the next quarter, we will release an economy paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Economic paper. Yeah.
Yeah. Especially.
Sorry to interrupt, Claire. I'm looking forward to that because the very top tier projects are really taking this seriously, Claire. So talk us through a little bit of what you can with regard to the economic model, because Frank alluded to the simplicity of it. It can all be done, but will there be a way in which you stake, once I pay as a business, to really ensure the scarcity and the metrics and everything matches to show that the token can correlate with business growth?
Sure, absolutely, because our token is used in many more aspects than other public chains. It's not only the reward for the miners, but also the reward for the storage nodes, and also because we are a flexible framework. So actually, if a developer wants to run his smart contract on this network, he can choose how much he wants to pay, and the miners could decide whether they want to take this offer or not. So it's more complex. So we need a delicate token economy to support that.
Right. Claire, thanks for explaining that. Now, Sean, I want to talk to you for a moment with regard to the utility. You guys have spent a long time building the tech. Is the reason why you waited so long until now to do the testnet and essentially move later on to exchanges, is the reason why you haven't done it earlier because you want to be a real utility? And I ask you this because there's just simply a lot of crap out there that isn't real. That's not a true utility. It's just almost pretending to be. Is your objective to release on exchanges when you're a true utility?
Actually, the engineering is much complicated than we expected. So it's very difficult to build a real blockchain systems with a very huge system. Actually, we built the consensus algorithms, we built the sharding mechanism, and we've also built the storage nodes. So it's really complicated. So actually, the testnet will this month we will include the transaction processing, and we will set up the testnet to 3 different periods to support different applications. So it's one by one, because once it's totally the mainnet is launched, it's difficult to upgrade it anymore.
Sure. But you must be excited though, Sean, because what I'm asking though is the objective of the token to be a true utility when you do release? Because obviously a lot of other companies rushed it. They came in too early, arguably, and they weren't a true utility at the time of release. They're still developing and not even at mainnet, some of them. So is your objective as a whole team to really show that you're a true utility when you enter into the market?
Yes, it's true.
Okay. Yeah. I really wanted to check that because
it's different from the internet companies and the blockchain technology company or products, because you can iterate your model in traditional companies or internet companies, but but for the blockchain system, blockchain products, you have to make it perfect as the first. Yeah.
Yes, and I can see why you're spending so much time. You have a really large team compared to some. I want to talk through that as well, Frank, because obviously your team's split into different regions in the world. My understanding is that you've got a US office and also one in China. Can you talk us through that a little bit? And Claire, obviously you'll add in information as well with regard to the facts of your team in terms of experience, in terms of what they're really doing right now to build out the potential of this startup.
Yeah. Most of the staffs are our classmates, our colleagues before, and and they are building our consensus and storage and the security side and the whole network and the P2P network and different models, different parts in the whole system.
Right, now Claire, how important is it to be based in different regions with the team? Talk us through the skill sets. It's obviously not just academics, it's not just classmates. You've added new people in for different areas as well. So talk us through that.
Most of our engineers are based in US and also in China. So the Chinese office is mainly focusing on the coding.
On the engineering.
On the engineering.
Yeah.
And there are other like doctors, PhDs, and also like senior engineers from Google. They are focusing on researching, on designing the whole scheme. So it's
and review the code. Yeah.
I like how you're interjecting to make sure. Now, what about the marketing side, Claire? That's obviously a quite challenging area because crypto is a little bit odd because it's so different to traditional models of business and I guess advertising. Have you also got a go-to market strategy for when you really become active in the marketplace?
Actually, we divided the marketing strategy into, I think, 3 stages. So the first one will be the general marketing. We haven't released our testnet, our mainnet, so we want to get the general or the popular audience to pay attention to Multivac to know what we are doing and where we are good. The second stage will be developer community. So if you want to build a strong and a mature public chain, you must have a lot of developers who are doing all kinds of things like maybe they're helping us on the code protocols, maybe they're doing their applications, or maybe they're doing some developer tools like SDK or API, something like that.
Right.
So the second stage would be the developers, after we release our testnet. And the third stage would be the application and the business side. So if we really fulfill our dream, there must be many real businesses on this platform. It's a little far away from what we are right now. So this third part.
Yeah.
Right, and I really appreciate the way you've done this sequential approach. Now, obviously, it's really important that you do get developers. As you mentioned, you've really got to have more tools built into the platform and also those who can contribute with SDK, API, building that out. How is the GitHub with regard to the access to tools already for developers? I guess that's a question for you, Sean. Is it something that people can do because you're only at the testnet phase now?
Actually, we have all our code on GitHub, but it's private. So currently we have about almost 60 to 70,000 lines of code. It's built on Golang.
Okay, so when will devs be able to start into working in a public sort of scenario?
I'm not sure about this problem because
okay. Well, I'll ask you that next time we talk. Because obviously it's a bit early for that, but the devs obviously would be wanting to know more about this. It's a big technology that's coming. Now, let's talk a little bit more about your revenue. Now, obviously that's going to be important. Have you started thinking about how you're going to make money? I ask you this because it's one of the most important things to survive a bear market. Is you have to build in models quickly when you start to become active in the ecosystem and in the live market. How are you going to sustain that? You can't just use the raise. Have you guys got a plan?
Okay, for one side, I think we are quite lucky because we finished our private sale in the last year, during June and July, and we didn't have any experience of crypto, so we cashed them out immediately. So,
so you're cashed up.
Yeah. So we raised over $15 million in total, and right now we have more than. So we have enough money to support the team to survive for several years. So this is, yeah.
I see. So that's why you guys aren't stressed, because you do have the money, you're smart with the cash out. But even though that's the case, are you starting to think about how you're going to convert from having this raise model where you've got the capital to building capital by turning it into a real sustainable economy that makes money? Have you got a little bit of a plan yet?
So that's why we built a technology company in China from the start of our business. The company is used for some 2B business or some technical support for other companies. It will be from our revenue. But I don't think it will be our main purpose, or it's not something we will pay a lot of attention to do that, because we believe if we fulfill the Multivac platform, there will be a lot of business or applications on that in which we can make money.
Right, got it. So just to recap there, you've made a really good point. Consultation is going to be important. It will produce revenue, but your really big focus is actually the dApps, really making sure you build this into a very large global ecosystem.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it. Now so we're clear as well, Claire. When dApps start utilizing the blockchain, that also produces revenue.
I'm sorry, I didn't get you.
So the question is, you mentioned consultation, but when dApps applications start utilizing your platform, that also indirectly, because of fee structures and transactions, that creates revenue as well.
Actually, it works in another way. So when applications are really run on this platform, the tokens will become, how to say that? There will be true value of the tokens, and we reserve some tokens for the foundation to run the project for a long time. So the foundation will have money to do other things like marketing or recruiting developers.
Right. Okay. Now that leads us into discussion about money, about the ICO with regard to lockups. Now, Frank, I'm going to ask you this. Because you're leading this out, you have a team, you would have rewarded them, or you will reward them at some stage with tokens, but have you locked these up to make sure people in the public sphere can trust that there's not a pump and dump reaction? Because we see too much of that.
Yeah, absolutely. We locked we reserve some part of the tokens to the foundation, just as Claire said, and it is locked now, and we only done with our private sale, and all of the private sale is for the institutions, for companies, for capitals.
And are they locked? Are they locked for those big institutions?
They're locked to 1 year.
Locked to 1 year. They are not individual investors.
Right. Okay. Now I want to ask you, were there any special deals? Were there anything that we're going to find out later with regard to one investor or one party got more or a cheaper deal than another? Because we have seen that in other companies. Or was it all the same and all done professionally?
Absolutely, yeah. It's fair. Yeah.
Right. So we can trust that the raise was all equal and it's all locked for a year.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
For the private sale. Okay. What about plans for the future with regard to listing? Claire, I'm going to ask you this as a CMO. What can we expect in the future with regard to exchanges? Are you talking to exchanges yet, or is that too far ahead?
We have been talking to exchanges for a long time, including the top exchanges in the world.
Now, if you do that, clearly you're going to need some strong exchanges. I have to tell you, I did see one of you talking to CZ recently. Is that an indicator?
Yeah. Frank was talking to CZ.
Beautiful, yeah.
Yes. So is that an indicator of the kind of exchanges that you're looking at? Are you looking for those top tier? Claire, you've mentioned some top exchanges. I'm imagining that they've also captured your attention, and likewise, they're interested in you, some of them. So they're taking you seriously. Have you saved enough money? Are you paying for these exchanges? Or are some of them likely to list you because of your caliber and quality?
Yeah, sorry, can you do that?
Some of the exchanges are very expensive, Frank. So the question is, some of them let you list for free if you're very good, if you're best in class. Sometimes you have to pay a lot of money. So have you guys got enough money in the bank to plan for this out, or are you hoping that some of them will just simply list you because of your quality?
Yeah, I think it's fair to provide to public blockchain and exchanges. It's not like someone wants to list to the exchange, you have to pay money for to the exchanges, because why people want to trade your token, want to buy your token or sell your token? Because it's useful, and they want to buy your token for some business or some their own logic. Yeah, and the exchange only to help them to exchange, to trade the tokens. That is the point, I think.
I think you raise a very important and refreshing point, in that you are clearly use-driven. You're not speculatively driven in any way. And, I'm assuming also as well, Frank, that if you could, you would take away the speculation if you could. But you can't, because exchanges exist. But fundamentally what you're saying is that use is number one. If it's not useful, it's not multivac. Got it. Okay. Now sorry, go ahead. Okay. Now, with regard to regulation, let's talk about compliance. Let's talk about all the different legalities around the world. Because of the borderless nature and the trustless nature of blockchain, how are you going with that? In the US, for example, there's very strict regulations. Are you following everything as you plan to, go global?
Because we are MTV is a utility token, so I think the challenges is less than a security token. Of course, we are following the regulations of many regions like the US and also the Korea and also the Southeast Asian and also of course China. These are the main markets we want to explore. So we are following the regulations, but it's still a little early for us to do the papers from this second. But we are following. Actually, we are recruiting. It's like a chief law officer. We are recruiting a chief law officer for this moment. We want to be prepared.
Right. Now, Claire, you're very knowledgeable about all the steps planned for the year. You help plan the roadmap. So talk us through some of the key things that are going to happen this year. You already mentioned testnet, but let's go through the most important parts as you unfold for 2019.
Yeah, about the testnet, there will be 3 versions. And also we will release our purple paper about the smart contract in this quarter. And we will release our talking economy paper in next quarter, as we talked before. And then the mainnet comes in the middle of this year. And then we are going to start build the developer platform and then applications.
Right. Yeah. So you have a lot to do. That sounds like like more than a year's work, but you're obviously working really efficiently. How big is the team to achieve that roadmap plan, Claire?
Recently, we have over 20 engineers and researchers, and also we have an in-house team of marketing, which includes 7 people. But now we are recruiting our Beijing engineer team, so we will recruit another 20 engineers at the first half year.
Yeah. Right.
So there will be 40 engineers at the middle of this year.
I see. So you guys are really using the money you raised efficiently. Because some companies aren't. They aren't using the money. They're just sort of sitting doing nothing or very little. Some clearly are utilizing to really build out their ecosystem. Have you also put in a very clear budget so that you can expand the team efficiently, but also have enough money for your runway? Has that all been carefully mapped out?
Yes. So that's what I want to talk about. We spend most money on recruiting juniors, but we spend little money on marketing because we want to do it organic, not just pay some influencers, or pay some media to do research or articles about us. It's I would use useless, but it's not help a lot. We want to do it organic, use the community, and to get touch into the university and the developers. These are important. So we pay a lot on recruiting, but we pay little on marketing because we want to do it organic.
Right. Okay. Now you say organic. Now, Claire, I'm going to challenge this a little bit as well, because right now you're not in the active markets. So there's no reason why influencers would be involved or any marketers for that reason. But when you do later, obviously you're going to need to market this, because that's the case with branding. It's the case with any startup anywhere in the world for anything. So do you still have a plan for the time in which you are active to start to promote this in the mainstream, for example?
I want to mention one point, because for Multivac, general or ordinary personal computers can join as a miner, and they can get real tokens as the reward. So it will be easier for us to promote just through the miners. Let's imagine everyone can download our software in their computer, and once they open it, it will be reward, it will be tokens. So we will use this kind of activities to encourage people to join in, instead of to let influencers or media.
So you're taking a very pragmatic approach. Those miners or those downloaders of the technology are still going to need to know you exist. So you'll still have a plan, I'd imagine, and I'll talk to you later in the year to find out what that is. But clearly you're waiting carefully to do an effective marketing strategy, one that's based on the use of the token for what it's designed, not for speculation. Okay, that's refreshing also. Now let's go through and talk about your partners. Do your partners, you mentioned before, do they have real value beyond just giving you money? Like, are they going to also do collaborations of some sort or support you beyond just giving the capital?
Yeah, as you know, we have many investors all around the world, and such as some famous capital in some region, such as Hash in Korea, Signum in Singapore, and NGC in China, in Shanghai, such as ICODrops in Russia. Yeah. And Michael from Arrington XRP, they also invest in us. Yeah, all of them help us a lot. Yeah, we went to Korea last month, and Ryan from Hash introduced us to the Kakao team. You know Kakao?
Yes, I do. Yeah, they're quite a big company.
Yeah. And we talk about how to cooperate with each other about the technical side, and we will also go deep conversation in this month. This is about the career part, and we went to Russia last October, last November, and ICODrops help us to make a meetup and include maybe more than 300 people.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So each of the parties in the partnerships are doing real world things to help you expand, but are they even going further beyond that and helping you really build out lasting enterprise, for example, connections, anything that really is shaping up to be something that's going to be part of your ecosystem as it builds, or even applications, for example, or other government interests? I'm just really trying to push for more information about how far some of these investors are really helping you, if indeed they are.
Yeah, and we also have some investors from Singapore or Southeast Asia, and they are also volunteered to be our nodes, to run the miner nodes, to run the storage nodes, to support our mainnet.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're doing real work, which is important. We've covered so much with regard to every facet, and I really appreciate your time. Claire, I want to ask you about the socials, the community, the engagement. How is the sentiment from the community? Are they really engaged, interested? Because we're still, in that phase of the technology building, with the testnet now here or almost here. Are they really engaged with Multivac?
Okay. There are over 20,000 subscribers on our social media, and it's all organic. We didn't do any airdrop or something like that, but we do hold some bounty campaigns to let people to get engaged, such as they can write articles or they can make pictures about our technology, and there will be some technology sharing in the group. So as you can see, our community is, I'm not going to say it's many people there, but it's organic and it's active. So people are getting to know what Multivac is doing.
Right. Well, I had a look, and I have to tell you, I mean, this is obviously a free interview, but I was impressed with the standard of intellectual conversation, of academic conversation. And I was interested to see that you have, you know, these things like the killer bounty programs, where you also have quizzes that really challenge, you know, deep thinking and deep understanding of the Multivac system. So obviously support education in the way you approach the whole dynamic of the public, you know, Telegram and the Twitter and all these different assets that you have. You want to build understanding and knowledge.
Really, yes.
Okay, so what's planned ahead? Are you going to continue doing bounties for those who want to make content, for example? Will that continue?
Yes, it will continue. Actually, Sharding Killer is not came from us. It came from one member of our community. Yeah. But we think it's quite good, so we make such a bounty to encourage people to describe how Multivac could be a Sharding Killer. So the bounty will continue, and we will find more ways to encourage people to do that.
Right. Okay. Now, hopefully you've rewarded that person for giving a good idea to the team. Now, with regard to articles, I noticed that Forbes they've captured, you know, they're intrigued by the blockchain, and they've done an article on Multivac. How important is it to have this mainstream coverage?
To be honest, I think we don't write enough articles for ourselves because we are kind of too much focusing on developing. So there will be more articles from the team to describe how the scheme works. But also, I think it's important to find some professional writers who can translate the technology language into the popular language to educate audience, to educate popular people. So that's what we are going to do in this year, the technology influence.
I see. So education's the core focus, regardless of the kinds of marketing. You're really focused on educational quality. Now, any concerns? I want to talk to any of you, or of all three of you, with regard to criticisms, concerns, anything at all that you've heard that you want to address to make really clear. Any concerns for technologically or from more of the crypto standpoint? Here's your chance to really address anything that has come up.
To address anything?
Yes, for example, you know, we talk about criticisms with regard to the potential of investors, for example, only wanting to capitalize on, you know, blockchain investments and exiting. You've made it clear there's a year lockup. That's not negotiable, so we don't have to talk about that. But are there any other concerns that you've heard from others? Any FUD, anything at all that you think is important to just address right now? Or is everything pretty clean?
I think the most concerning thing for us is developing, because when we really went into the engineering part, it's far more large and far more harder than we thought before.
Big challenge.
So,
big challenge.
Big challenge.
Right now, we are still at the stage of transaction part, but we are moving to the smart contract part very soon, which will be more challenging.
So, absolutely. Well, I would like to thank you, all three of you, Sean, the CTO, Frank, the CEO, and Claire, the CMO. Thank you very much for your time this evening. You've really explained a lot of the different key components. The fundamental thing that I've learned listening to you is that you are taking this really seriously as a technology. You want to be number one, the word is useful. So you're doing everything sequentially, you're doing it carefully so that you can build out until you get to that mainnet. And you might even do it in a native token. We'll see if that happens. But I want to thank you for being serious, because Right now, we need more credibility in the blockchain. We need more credibility in crypto, and you're bringing it, and you're bringing it with a force, and you're doing it with an all-dimensional sharding mechanism and system. So thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we can catch up soon to learn more about Multivac.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you, Brad. Yeah, let's talk later.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.